Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have John, and he's an entrepreneur, prison teacher, author, and he has spent 20 years building a startup business into an industry leader and decided to share with others. And then this is where what the story after that happened. He became a prison teacher. Welcome to the show, John.
AJ, thank you very much. I'm a big fan of the masterclass. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. You are the master for today's masterclass. And as I was saying about your life as a prison teacher after achieving success in business, that is, a lot of things that we need to learn. So we'll be learning about entrepreneurship, teaching, and in fact learning, because learning also needs a lot of understanding. Learning needs a lot of learning, and that is what we will learn from you, John. So my first question to you is, you know about teaching a bit, even in business. You know about things related to business in terms of teaching the inmates at the minimum prison security prison down there in the US where you worked. Is that uh, who is more curious in today's time? What did you find? Is it the inmates or is it people in the outside world? Because that is the very important component to learn.
It's a great question, and thank you for that. Interesting thing about prison that I learned: when you're in prison, you're incarcerated. They take away alcohol, drugs, tobacco, and women. They're gone. So you've got years and years and years to really get into yourself. And I'm not a big fan of how prison systems are run, but I will say this: if you're looking for an opportunity as like a timeout, all the distractions of life are taken away. So you have time now to think about what I've done and where I want to go. And so the people that I met that were ready to make a positive change in their life, they were very, very interested in learning. A lot of the guys that I taught weren't officially in my class, so they didn't get the benefits you got. They were just in the room to learn. So they were very good students if they wanted to make a change in their life. Now, some people in prison have been through the cycle so many times, they're going to stay in prison for the rest of their lives. They'll get out for a little while, then they'll go back, and then they'll get out, and then they'll go back. And they're okay with that. They're used to it. That's the life they want. They don't really want to learn anything. They've got their life the way they want it. But the people that, and especially some of the younger people, maybe made one mistake or had one really bad night that got them in prison, they're ready to learn. I've never met people that were more focused on help me, get me the information I want. I don't ever want to come back here again. So I found them to be very, very receptive students. Not all of them, but the ones that wanted to learn were very, very good students.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as a teacher, when you walked into that minimum security prison camp, John, for the first time to teach, why did you tell them that I'm going to learn a lot more than you could possibly learn from me? I know what it means, but I want to understand the aspect that which you looked at that particular thing, and I want to bring that to the audience. It is a very profound one, and I want you to help us understand that moment.
Oh, it's a great question. So I had a puzzle. I was going to bring in first day. I've never taught before. I get this job, and I was going to bring in this magnet puzzle, and I was going to have half the class do a magnet puzzle, the other half do a traditional puzzle, and that way you can say, okay, entrepreneurship. It's not like we can look at the box and say, here's what we're trying to make. We make it. We don't know. It comes in different ways. Things are going to happen. It's a great analogy. Well, I walk into the guardhouse and they confiscate my puzzle. They say I can't bring in magnets. So now I'm walking in and I've just lost my big opener and I didn't know what to do. And I'm looking around this place. There's guys in there. They're all dressed the same. These guys are kind of tough looking guys. And I realize I am wildly out of my element here. I have no experience with this demographic. I have no experience in this situation. I've got a lot to learn. I mean, this is like a fish out of water big time. And I knew also that by saying that, it would disarm them a little bit as that I'm not the guy who knows everything, right? And I've always thought the good classes that I've taken are the classes where everybody contributes. So I really wanted to bring them out and say, okay, I can learn as much from you as you can learn from me. We can all learn from him. We can learn from each other, but it's only going to happen if we disarm ourselves a little bit and get comfortable with each other. And it's hard to do in a classroom. So I wanted to immediately take it off the table that, I'm going to be teaching to you and you're going to be sitting there listening, because that's not a good class. I wanted them to help me as much as I could help them. And basically I wanted help to not screw up and in this environment where I could easily make a mistake and lose my job. And there were guys there that took me aside and said, you can't do this. You can't ask this question. This is inappropriate behavior to prison. Like I had a student, for example, who was there, very good student. It was an 11-week class. He was there for 3 or 4 weeks. And then one day he was gone. He never came back. And I started asking what happened to him. And everybody would just look at the floor and say, we don't know. And one of the inmates came up to me after class. He said, you don't ask questions like that in here. You don't ask what happened to somebody. That's wrong. I didn't know. He said, that's like snitching. Everybody minds their own business. You don't ask that question. And I did a lot of things when I started out that were inappropriate for prison. So I needed help because I didn't know one mistake could cost me my job there. So I did learn as much from them. I learned a lot more, actually. And I knew I would, interesting people in there.
Absolutely. What were you supposed to teach them? Well, because was it about entrepreneurship? Was it about something more specific? What is it that your work entailed, and how was this experience in terms of teaching as well as learning from your side as well as from their side? Because in a sense, they were also your teachers, as you just explained. So I'm just trying to understand
Absolutely.
from that point of view.
Great question. So the class was entrepreneurship, and I had 11 weeks, 9 hours a week, 100 hours to teach entrepreneurship. And I said, okay, well, what do we have to start with? And they said, it's up to you. Just you create your own class. So I had to create 100 hours of material from nothing, and I had 3 weeks to get started on it. So I had a huge, monumental task. But the one thing I know about entrepreneurship is it's about the hardest thing you're ever going to do in your life. It's very, very difficult to start a company from nothing. The failure rate is astronomical. I mean, we struggled. We fumbled. We went out of business once. I had a very, very tough road, because we all have tough roads. It's not an easy thing to get right. It's almost impossible to get it right. It's always changing. One mistake can really screw you up. So I've got to first make you believe you can do it. And I realize if I don't do that, then the rest that I'm trying to teach them, the business stuff, it's not going to matter because they're not going to do it. So I felt like my first job as an entrepreneurship teacher was to build them up a little bit. You can get out and you can do this. And the theory behind the class is, okay, I'm coming out of prison. I got a felony. It's going to be very hard for me to find a job. But I could start my own business, not just a blue collar business, cutting grass, washing windows, detailing cars. And I could actually have a decent living. It's going to be hard for me to find that somewhere else with a felony. So that was the concept. But I was supposed to teach entrepreneurship. But I started with, a big confidence boost. This is, I can help you, walk you through. I've made a lot of mistakes. I'll make sure you don't make these mistakes. Well, that took up about 8 weeks. And then I had 3 weeks to go. And I'm done talking about entrepreneurship. It's just, I don't need 100 hours. So what I learned was what these guys in prison really, really needed was financial literacy. They did not understand money at all. And when you look at the statistics, 70% of people are in prison for money-related reasons. But I'm meeting guys who don't know anything. They don't know what a debit card is. They've never had a checking account. They've never been taught money. And that's what gets them into trouble is they go after it the wrong way. So it became a course of entrepreneurship and money management. And when I taught the money management part, I had guys that went in the class that were coming in off the yard, asking good questions. What's an IRA? How do I set up an IRA? What's a health savings account? I don't know any of this stuff. And they really, really wanted to learn money. And I think if you ever wanted to help, the biggest help you could give the incarcerated would be teach them how to basically handle money, because that's a skill that a lot of them are lacking.
Absolutely. You put give a good perspective that most of these people were there for lack of financial literacy, and that was
Exactly right.
that
That's
landed up
exactly
in
right.
a place like that. Now, You see, when a person is brought from outside, a teacher is brought from outside, it they and that to teach entrepreneurship, it means the system is trying to give hope to the inmates that one day
Absolutely.
they will have to go out and they can utilize this understanding of things to make their lives better with huge
Exactly.
amount of difficult, no resources at all, they have to learn. What is your understanding of those people that they have to utilize the sense of entrepreneurship when they will go out? What was the way they were looking at entrepreneurship inside of a life outside, which was perhaps very distant? I will relate that to the world outside where people are trying to get into the world of entrepreneurship, and that is where the two mindsets we will cross check how it all works. So help us understand their mindset about learning about entrepreneurship, because many were not financially literate and they have to learn along with entrepreneurship. You also don't need to learn about a bit about money related matters. Were they in a state of mind to do that? And if they were and they were trying to do that best, I think life should give them more than a fair chance.
I couldn't agree with you more. Here's what you learn when you go into prison, or what I learned, among many, many other things. You're looking at a demographic here that is coming from the justice system is very skewed towards, in our country, people of color, people with low education, and people with lack of financial resources. If they get in trouble, they don't have any other resource. They end up in prison a lot more than a rich white middle class guy like me. I mean, it's a whole different system for them. It's not fair at all. So you're looking at a guy here who's maybe got potential. He's got entrepreneurship ideas, but when he grew up, the entrepreneurs were the lawbreakers. That's all there was. He's looking at the guy who's a drug dealer. He's making a lot of money. He's got a nice car. Well, I want a nice car. I want a lot of money. He doesn't have any other role models. He doesn't see an entrepreneur running a business legitimately because in his environment, there aren't any. So he's taken a bad role model. He's got the entrepreneurial spirit and he's got the entrepreneurial skills. And I met a lot of guys who ran a business on the side, but they never reported the money. They never set it up to be a business. They were just doing side hustles. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit in inmates because they're risk takers. Obviously, that's how they end up in prison. So what they need is some shaping. They need somebody to tell them, okay, if you're going to start a business, it's going to be slow. It's going to take a long, long time. We're not going to be able to make a lot of money overnight. Nobody hits it big like that. So they've got the spirit. They just need to know when you get out, we're going to do it differently. We're going to do it legally. I had guys ask me, so if they catch me with a lot of cash money, can they take it? And I'm like, yeah, they're going to take it unless you can show them how you made it. If you're just doing business, under the table, well, yeah, they're going to think you got it illegally. They're going to confiscate your money. That's exactly what they're going to do. But if we send up a QuickBooks account and you're doing legitimate work, it's your money. But we got to pay taxes. They didn't like that, stuff like that. So you see the entrepreneurial spirit alive, but they've just never had anybody sit down and teach them, here's the right way if you want to build a business. The way you're doing it, the spirit's there, but the rules are all being broken and it's not going to last. So that was a great challenge. I loved it. It was a lot for them to take in, because it was a whole different mindset, but they were trying to learn. I'll say that. And a lot of them were very willing to learn. I met some very intelligent people there that got out. If you look at the back of the book, I've got a whole list of people who got out, started a successful business, and they're still doing it today. So whether or not I helped them, I don't know, but some people can do it. And that's encouraging.
That's the humble part of you, which is saying that without a teacher, without a guru, a lot of things become difficult. But when you have somebody, an experienced person who knows about things, you had an MBA, a teaching certificate, and a marketing management certificate from Harvard Extension University. So all these things, when a person like you gives them such an information and knowledge to people wherever they are, that certainly adds up. Now let's come to the entrepreneurship part outside. We talked about that they had a lot of potential but almost no resources to improve their lives. A lot of people outside have limited resources but all the freedom that they need, and they want to also get into entrepreneurship. What would you want to tell them about entrepreneurship, that they can that within a system, a life which is better than the inmates, that they can build their life, they
Absolutely.
have better chances to build their lives and achieve greater heights? How do you look at it from life? If you look from inside outside, it will look, we can always look at the challenges, but if we look at from the inside perspective, a person outside has a whole lot of opportunities and chances that they can utilize to build a better business, build more success, build a better life for themselves. What would you like to tell them in that perspective?
Thank you, AJ. Great question. I know this because when I started, I got out of college. My dad was starting a business on literally on the kitchen table. We had no resources. We had a car, a phone, and a filing cabinet, and really that's how we started the business. And it took years and years and years and years and years to get to a place to where we could even consider moving to some office space. We were living hand to mouth, hand to mouth. It takes a long, long, long time. When I taught entrepreneurship, I've had a triangle, my holy trinity of entrepreneurship, and top foremost is sales. You've got to be good at selling, because you can have a great service, a great product, but if you can't convince me that, it's not going to matter. So you've got to be able to communicate to your customer. You got to show them that there's going to be value in what you're bringing them. Second, you've got to work really, really hard. You're going to work weekends. You're going to work 12-hour days, and it's going to take a lot of discipline. You're going to make a lot of sacrifices. And then third is you got to be able to handle money. You can't spend the money as fast as it comes in. You've got to hold some back. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They try to grow too fast. But above all that, if I could say the one thing that will lead to success as an entrepreneur, or anything else actually, is what I've learned through all my 60 years on this earth. Determination rules the day. If you are determined that I'm going to have a successful business and I'm going to do whatever it takes, and I'm not going to quit till I get there, then you will get there. I've never seen anybody that wanted it that didn't get there. But what happens is you come to a lot of hurdles, and it's very easy to just throw in the towel and say, that's it, I quit. This is too difficult. And the day you do that is the day you won't be an entrepreneur. But if you can just stick with it, you'll have to make changes. You'll have to pivot. You'll have to do a lot of things you don't see coming. You will get there. And determination to me is the key to the whole thing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And, and,
You
and the rewards are
mentioned
great.
that.
Sorry.
Absolutely, the rewards are great. Now let's again touch the topic of curiosity. We started with curiosity. Let's get that into the business part here. John, you got two cats, if I understand. Mo and Joe, very spoiled cats. And long back, somebody
Yes,
said,
indeed.
"Curiosity killed the cat," and that saying goes on. We keep on using it. But in real life, we say we must be curious. But in the real world, if you see, nobody wants curious people. Your industry wants only conformists. They want the system which is running in a very processed manner. You ask too many questions. Even when you were asking questions inside, they did not allow that. Not no questions are, people don't want questions. Politicians don't want hard questions. Everybody, the only curious thing I see is on planet on Mars, the Curiosity rover. On Earth, curiosity is getting diminished day by day, and people don't like too much of curiosity until unless you are curious in silence and keep on searching things on the internet. What would you like to talk about or tell entrepreneurs about curiosity, which is facing such huge deal of challenge in itself? I want to understand from you as a teacher, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who has seen life from very close.
Oh, thank you, AJ. I think curiosity is what can define a great entrepreneur. You have to look at a system, a process, a product, a service, and say, how can I make that better? What is this market, this target market, not getting? Well, I'm going to give it to them. Now, maybe there's not enough people there to support your idea. Maybe you'll have to make some changes, but you've got to find a way to do something a little bit different. And I always stress that with anybody that wants to start a business, because they talk about like sales and elevator pitch. I'm going to listen to you for about 15 seconds. And if you can't hit me with something new, I already got a guy that cuts my yard. Well, I do more than that. How would you like it if I did cut your yard in, did this and did that, and painted your house or whatever? Curiosity is what all great entrepreneurs had at some point and said, why can't we do this? Why can't we do this way? I'm not saying reinvent the wheel. It could be a very simple change. But if you see something that people aren't getting, that they find value in and they're willing to pay for, that's where you need to put all your energy, because you can find a new market that nobody's serving, and they're more than willing to pay you a premium price for what it is you're bringing to the table, because nobody's done that yet. So to me, if you don't have curiosity, it's going to be a tough road. I mean, I think curiosity is probably the most important aspect next to determination that you could have. If you go to formal education, they kind of take curiosity off the table. They want you to do things the way they teach you to do them, and they're preparing you to go work for someone else, frankly, in a business environment. If you look at the great entrepreneurs, most of them never finished college because they got to college and said, this isn't for me. I don't want to walk in lockstep with everybody else. I see something different over here, and I'm going to jump on it and see if I can make it work. Michael Dell, the computer, he started in his college dorm room and baking computers for other students. And then he realized, what am I doing with college? I got this figured out. There's nobody taking these parts and making this machine as well as I am. This could be my thing. And he was right. But it takes that what if curiosity to make a great entrepreneur, I think. You've got to do something a little different. And that starts with why is nobody else doing this, or why isn't this happening? So great question.
Right.
That's perfect.
Absolutely, John. Absolutely. One more question. You taught entrepreneurship to prison inmates, prison in camps, minimum security prison camp. Outside world, a lot of people face fear of failure. They are caught within the prison of their minds. The fear of failure does not leave them. Very talented people. You can achieve it, but you are not able to free yourself. What would you like to tell them? Inside the prison, in spite of limited understanding of outside world, has not been. They want to break free. They want to do big, something after coming out. What do you do when somebody is caught in his own mind of fear of failure? How would you like to tell them about entrepreneurship? Where is it that they should start with? What about how should they get out of that fear of failure?
Another great question. So I graduated college in 1987. My dad had just started his business, and he said, hey, why don't you come work for me? Well, I see my dad working in the dining room with no money, and I'm thinking, this is a huge risk. I'm afraid this is going to fail. I'm very afraid that I'm going to invest my time, my efforts, my money in this guy and his dining room table, and we're going to have nothing to show for it in 2 years. I was afraid to try. Honestly, I wanted to go the safe route. I wanted to go work for a big, safe company and not take that risk, because to me, I thought I was taking a huge risk. So I told my dad, I'll work for you for 2 years. I know I could learn a lot from him, but that's it. I'm going to go somewhere safe after that. This is way too risky. So I was exactly that. I was afraid that I was going to fail. Now, what the backstory on that is, my dad worked for a company for 25 years, built this company for someone else. New people came in and got rid of all the old people, fired him overnight, very unceremoniously. He said from that day forward, I will never work for anybody but me again. And he never did. So what you learn is the real risk in life is putting your fate in someone else's hands. That's that's the risk. The risk working for yourself, that's no risk. You can make changes. You're in charge. You can make that decision. So, sorry. So you don't want to be like me and let that hold you back. You'll learn as you get there that the risk is in not doing it. Honestly.
Absolutely, absolutely, John. There is a freeze. I guess it will be fine in a moment. John, are you getting my voice?
Oh, sorry, I lost you there for a second. Okay,
No, no
you're back.
problem. No, no problem. Yeah. Are you over with your answer?
Yeah, I would say, I understand the fear of failure because I've been there. And looking at it from the outside, you think, oh gosh, this is going to be a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of energy. The risk of a company making it through 5 years is very, very small. You can look at different numbers, but some say 90% fail. I don't mean fail, but they're going to have to restructure. They're going to have to try again. You're going to have to try again, and you're going to try again. But the real risk in life is putting your fate in somebody else's hands. You don't bet on the numbers. You bet on yourself. And you say, I can make this happen. Now it's going to be hard. And I might have to make some changes. I might have to borrow some money from family. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to go, but I'm going to make it happen. And that's what leads to success to me. So that fear of failure, it's very valid. I understand it. But when you get on the other side of it, you'll realize, well, this is the place to be because my wealth now is unlimited. I can make as much money as I want to make. I can bring my family into this business if I want and help their future. I mean, I've got some great options here. Now, if I go work for somebody else where it appears to be safe, that's going to end someday, and it's going to end real quick and unceremoniously when you no longer bring as much value as they're paying you. My wife worked for a company for 20 years. She got a pop-up screen right after her 60th birthday. Prepare for your exit interview. Goodbye. We don't need you anymore. We can get a younger person to do your job for less money, so you're off the table. You're not important to them. Where I work, they can't fire me if they want, So that's a great feeling. I've got job security till I'm no longer breathing. So if you can get there, it's a very, very great place to be. And I would not let fear of the failure stop you, but I do understand that it's valid.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you put all your experiences after, after your stint of teaching at that prison camp, you put that into a book, Lifeline to a Soul. Help us understand. It's a nice title of the book. I like it. Help us understand this title and also what this book is all about. How can people get hold of this book?
Oh, thank you, AJ. I appreciate that. So I had some other title. I wrote the book. I didn't ever plan on writing a book. I'm not an author by trade. I never really planned on.
No problem. There is a bit of a freeze again. Some technical problems keep on dropping, but we will just wait for John to come back.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
back.
John, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the book. The question was, uh, where do you get the book and tell about the book? So I didn't plan on writing a book, but when I lost my job, COVID hit. I had some time, and I told my dad's wife. I said, "Well, all those funny prison stories I used to tell you, I don't have them anymore." And she said, "Why don't you write a book about it?" I said, "I think I will," because I learned that the people in the prison aren't as bad as we think they are. We put them in the same uniform, we treat them all the same, we dehumanize them, we make them look all the same. They're not all the same. There's some people in there with a lot of potential who made a mistake or had one bad night. And I can help 10 people at a time in my class, but the book could help change the perspective of hundreds or maybe even thousands of people. So it's worth doing for that respect. Now, the title was tough for me. But when somebody asked me one time, what's it like to teach in a prison? I said, here's what it's like. You've got a drowning man. He's caught up in his prison system and he thinks it's normal. He's okay with it. So you're throwing him a lifeline and you're trying to pull him out of the prison system, get him back on dry land where he can produce for his family and have a normal life. So you're throwing a lifeline to him. The problem is he doesn't know he's drowning. He has no reason to grab that rope because he doesn't see any reason to change what he's doing. He's fine there. He can't see the other side because he's been so mired up in it. So I knew I wanted lifeline. And then actually one of the former inmates that I keep up with on the outside. I told him I really need help with my title. He said, well, who are you throwing that lifeline to? He said, you're throwing that lifeline not to a dehumanized person. You're throwing it to a soul, an individual soul, and they're all different. So there you go. That's the title, Lifeline to a Soul. I love it. It speaks to how we look at prisoners as individuals. We look at them as the same because they're dressed the same, they're treated the same, they're called by numbers, not their name, but they're individual souls. And some of them are really looking for some help, and they're not getting the resources to get it. So hopefully the book can change some perspectives. Now, anybody who would like a copy of the book, I'm happy to send them one at no cost. If they want to go to our website, which is lifelinetoasoul.com, if you mention the masterclass, I'm more than happy to send you one. I'll autograph it for you. If you want to buy one, I've got an audiobook that I read. I've got you can buy paperback, Amazon, any books are sold, Barnes and Noble. But if you'd like one autograph, just let me know. I'm happy to do it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that, John. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to know a lot of other stories that you may be having with you. And perhaps one day there will be more books. So how can people connect with you and learn more about you? What is the best way to connect with you?
If you go to our website, which is lifelinetoasoul.com, all the contact information is there. All the links to buy the book. I've got reviews on there. And there's a place at the bottom. If you can leave your email address, I'll get right back to you and ask you where I can send a book. We do a drawing every month, and just about everybody who enters wins, frankly. So if any way you get on that site, we've got phone numbers, email addresses, you'll get in touch with us. Because I work with a guy who actually was in the prison I taught at. He's out now, and we've started a class that does the same thing I was doing in prison. We're teaching entrepreneurship and money management skills to people who have been recently released. So his name is Tavares James, and you may get him on the website as well. He's a great guy, great motivator, one of my best friends. So we've got a little class. We're still going, still trying to help and enjoying it. It's a lot easier teaching on the outside without the guardhouse and all that stuff. So we're having a good time.
Wonderful, wonderful. On this note, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Oh, thank you, AJ. It's my pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And like I say, if you'd like a book, just let me know. It's been an honor to be on your show.
Same here.